when I was in Iraq, we had a sister platoon that got ambushed, and one of the squad leaders ended up taking small arms fire, and he got shot in the head. And he was brought back to the FOB, and we were out, doing our business, and we came back to refit. We were throwing fuel in the vehicle and throwing ammo, and we were going back out, and a medevac bird just happened to be taken off, and we knew that he was in there. I mean, it was a small FOB, and we knew it was him. And just in the middle of the night, we all stopped in the middle of a field and saluted into the dark as this bird took off. And then after it disappeared, we refit, and then we were back at it for the next couple of days. And it was just, you didn't have time to grieve, right? And so so many people have experiences like that, where this is the first time where they really get the opportunity to grieve.
Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World of Marketing, where I, Tom Foster, talk with leaders about, yes, you guessed it, marketing, mindset, and the growth of their businesses. This episode is brought to you by Foster Web Marketing. Since the internet was born, Foster Web Marketing has been the premier provider of customized websites, SEO, video, and strategic solutions for elite businesses. Our unparalleled web technology and systems set the gold standard in the industry, catering exclusively to a discerning clientele who demand the best. Partner with Foster Web Marketing to boost your mobile marketing and reach clients directly on their devices, maximizing engagement and driving conversions in our fast-paced digital world. Visit fosterwebmarketing.com to discover how we can help you achieve your most ambitious goals and solidify your position at the forefront of your field. I'm thrilled to introduce our next guest, Justin Hoover, CEO of The Battle Within, my new friend. The Battle Within is a nonprofit founded to serve veterans and first responders. Justin is doing phenomenal work, and we are excited to hear about his processes, contributions, and mission. Justin is a vet himself. Justin, welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, buddy.
Thank you, Tom. I'm so excited to be talking with you this morning.
Yeah, man. Me too. And thank you I know we rescheduled this and all this stuff. Thank you so much for that. But let's get into it. You have created a great thing, The Battle Within. What is The Battle Within? Tell us.
So The Battle Within was actually founded by over 100 veterans, first responders, and community members, all to give our nation's veterans and first responders the opportunity to heal from the traumas of their service. These are people that we serve that can't say no in the face of crisis. When deployment orders come down, when that call over the radio comes through, when somebody gets pushed through your ER doors, they don't get to say no, right? And there's a lot of trauma that really comes from those professions, a lot of trauma that just gets dumped on them that they have to deal with. And there's a lot of stigma in our professions that really keep us from seeking mental health to deal with those traumas. And it's just devastating, Tom. It really is, on what it does to them, what it does to their families. And really it impacts their lives. And we see folks, whether they're active duty today or Vietnam veterans that have dealt with this for the last 50, 60 years, that when it finally becomes too much, when they finally have that moment of vulnerability, when they say, I need help, that's really when The Battle Within is there to provide that mental health support, provide those opportunities through our different services, which I'll kind of jump into here as we get going, that really can help them understand those traumas and understand that there's a better life, and then really set them on that path and keep them on that path so they can realize it.
So how does somebody, it's like you don't really know it's happening to you, right? It kind of catches up with you. Like you don't really know it until it's there, that you have this PTSD, right? So how do you reach people? How do you reach vets?
Sure. And you did hit it on the head. It's not something where you see some traumatic event and you're just like, oh my God, that's going to be with me for the rest of my life, because
right.
You're going up on you. You're going 100 miles an hour. That's an event, and it might be one of 3 events that day. It might be terribly tragic, but you got to just keep going to survive. And so, the human body's pretty amazing. The human mind's pretty amazing about being able to survive. And it's not until sometimes months or years later that you start to see the effects of it, right? And even those
Yeah.
it's that pulling away into isolation. It's that pulling away into shame. And I think that's the biggest disservice we do to each other in our professions is really allow each other to stay in shame. These are life and death sports. They're team sports, right? And if I have the feeling that you're not going to pull the trigger when I need you to, one or both of us is going to end up dead. And so I got a quick and easy solution to that. Let's put the weird kid in the corner where he can't hurt anybody, right? And so we're very good at just suppressing. And hey, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm mission capable, right? And so you just get really good at suppressing those things. And it's the effects that really kind of bubble up, and you've detached it from the cause. You don't really know why you're depressed, why you want to isolate, why you want to hide the things that you're ashamed of. And so they can manifest for a while and really bubble up for a while. And it's not until things in your life kind of start going bad for most people that they realize and will accept, oh, I need some help. I should reach out for that. And
Right. It starts affecting their life, starts affecting their family and right, everything.
exactly.
Their
And that's
business.
really, what we find is in that moment of vulnerability, if we can have that message, and our alumni who graduate from our 5-day program are the best advocates, mental health advocates in the world. We all know somebody that's suffering, right? We all know somebody
Yeah,
that needs
sure.
help. And so if you've already walked that path, you can come with that compassion and that empathy to help someone realize that they need help and that there's a
Well,
place
you,
that understands, that cares, and believes that they're worthy, that they can get that help. And in that moment of vulnerability, they'll they'll take that chance. And so, really, our alumni are our best advocates, either in person or just through video and through storytelling that we share on a larger scale. And so that's really how we've shared our message and drawn folks in. I'd say traditionally, probably 85% of our 5-day program applicants are word of mouth referrals. It's, I know that you're suffering, I care about you, and I want you to get this help, and I'm going to help you find it. Um, we're starting as we really step up our marketing to have that number slip away and just reach a larger audience, which is fantastic. We do a lot of speaking engagements at conferences, radio shows. We've done some PR here around Veterans Day that really reached a national audience, and we've had really a large amount of support. On Veterans Day, we had a year's worth of applicants like hit our website and start the process themselves, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time, right? Because
you've
that's a
created a wonderful community. I
oh
mean, that's
the
really what
community
you've
that comes
done.
out of it is
Yeah.
the thing I'm most proud of because and I can't really take credit for it, right? Like community really it doesn't matter what t-shirt you're wearing, what organization
Right.
banner. It's really people that are willing to get together and support one another, and that's what
Right.
our alumni do for each other. We facilitate some of the locations for them to get together from time to time. Like we have a holiday party coming up, which is always kind of a great time for them, and for some people, let's be honest, it's their only really holiday celebration, and so. Really to be able to foster those bonds that they can then take and make strong supports that will help them on their recovery is what I am so very proud of them for.
Wow. So, like, what are these on these retreats? These like you're talking about these 5 days. Like, what do you do? What happens?
Sure. Yeah, and excuse me. Retreat probably isn't the best way to describe it. It's not it is a very intensive clinical program that is peer supported. So it is 5 days. You're there with either it's classes of men or women, depending on the class. And so you're there with 10 to 12 men or 10 to 12 women. And really you get 5 days to focus on yourself. And that's really, I think, the sad thing, Tom, is I often ask in a class, when was the last time you took 5 days to really focus on you? Not vacation, not chasing down kids or, honeymoon with your spouse, but 5 days just to focus on you and who you are and what you want. And it's very sad because for most people, they don't start raising their hands until like you get to high school, and so how can you really know who you are and what you want to be if you never take the time to look? And so
Sure.
really it's really that deep dive opportunity to through group processing, through ceremonies and rituals that are really steeped in ancient warrior cultures throughout history, to be able to come together and to understand yourself and to understand each other and to really develop the tools that set the stage for healing. So, the week is designed to, like I said, to kind of make you open to vulnerability. So on Monday, we walk a labyrinth, which is a walking maze. It's called a walking maze. You can't get lost in it. If it's really a mindful exercise of walking around in a circle.
Wow.
Um, and it's really interesting, when you ask people when they come out, like, what did you think of that experience? And there's some people that are kind of pissed. They're like, why did I walk in a circle for 30 minutes? Like, I knew the objective was in the middle. I just wanted to walk to the middle, finish my objective, and then walk out. Like, oh, do you do that in life? They're like, yeah, all the time. It's just very mission focused, task focused. It's like,
Right,
oh,
right, right.
how's your family enjoy that? They're like, oh, they hate me, and it's
Yeah,
like,
right,
oh,
right,
I
right,
wonder
right. You're
why.
not smelling the flowers, man.
Right. You have those that have physical limitations and they're dragging their leg behind them and they feel like they're holding everyone back the whole time. There's those that just feel judged, that they're being watched and they're doing it wrong, and what if they mess up? And so there's a lot of those kind of reflections of how are you approaching life? What's your lens through life? That is really kind of enlightening for people that again have never stopped to really take the time to focus on themselves. We do a ceremony called the Ceremony of the Dead, in which you get the opportunity to write a letter to somebody whom you may have killed, or that a battle buddy that was killed. For our docs and our medics, a lot of times it's somebody that they felt that they should have saved but couldn't. Or it could be that
Wow.
parent or grandparent that you didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye to. Or, the young you that had to die to survive, to grow up and survive the neglect and abuse that many of our veterans and first responders faced during very hard childhoods. Whoever that is in your life, you have that opportunity to write that letter, place it in the fire, and say a few words. And it's so emotional. I mean, it is like a funeral atmosphere down there. And it's just a sacred place that people really get to go and have that transom to grieve. And
Wow.
like I said before, you get going so fast that you don't often have time to grieve. I
It's
remember
true.
when I was in Iraq, we had a sister platoon that got ambushed, and one of the squad leaders ended up taking small arms fire, and he got shot in the head, and he was brought back to the fob, and we were out, doing our business, and we came back to just to refit. We were throwing fuel in the vehicle and throwing ammo, and we were going back out. And a medevac bird just happened to be taken off, and we knew that he was in there. I mean, it was a small fob, and we knew it was him. And just in the middle of the night, we all stopped in the middle of a field and saluted into the dark as this bird took off. And then after it disappeared, we refit, and then we were back at it for the next couple of days. And it was just, you didn't have time to grieve, right? And so, so many people have experiences like that, where this
That's
is the first
powerful.
time where they really get the opportunity to grieve. Um, One of my favorite stories from the fire, we had an individual, and he had a hat that he was wearing all week, and we're putting letters in, and he says, can I place my hat in the fire? And we said, yeah, of course. Can you share more about that? Well, he had lost like 6 individuals that day in a firefight. And so in one day of combat. And he had worn that hat in remembrance of them ever since. And through this process, he came to realize I, I'm just, I am not allowing myself to live the life that they would want me to live. And I've shackled myself to their memory. And he placed the hat in the fire, not to forget them, but to give himself permission to move on with his life and live the life that they didn't get to have. And I mean, wow, that was just tears all around,
Incredible.
very powerful.
So incredible because, you become buddies, right? You're buddies with these guys. And then you go out and they're gone.
Yeah. And, I've seen studies like from Vietnam and the psychological impact of losing a battle buddy on the field of combat,
Yeah.
even 50, 60 years later, psychologically has the same impact as like losing your spouse in that year.
Oh, it's got to be. I can't. I'm overcome right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, uh, I think the powerful thing is to see just how resilient and how strong people are in the face of these traumas, in the face of how much it's impacted their lives, and to give them the opportunity to really overcome it and
Move on. Like, how do you
reclaim that.
move on from that? Like,
Yeah. And that's kind of, the next thing that we do right after that is we move to the leap of faith. And it's a 30-foot telephone pole. You're harnessed in, you climb up to the top, and then you just leap off to your new future. And honestly, that's the easy part. The hard part is what you do at the bottom with the therapist, where you're talking about what those burdens you have in life that you're holding. It's that guilt, that anger, that shame, that rage that you come to realize, I'm not a broken veteran, I'm not a broken first responder. I want to be a better father. I want to be a better mother. It's these maladaptive coping mechanisms that are keeping me from being
yeah.
the person that I was when I first put on the uniform. And now that I know better, I have the opportunity to do better, right? Like I didn't make these traumas. I didn't make these maladaptive coping mechanisms on my own. But now I know about them. I own them. Do I want to be that angry person that the kids are afraid of? Do I want to be, so guilt-ridden that I never leave the house and get to have my life, And so you get that opportunity, and then you get to climb up the pole and leap off. And when you get down, then you're welcomed by your brothers or your sisters who just wrap you up and welcome you home. And again, that's so powerful, especially with our Vietnam veterans, when you say, "Hey,
Yeah.
welcome home." And it's been 50 years, 60 years, and nobody's ever told me that, or I've never believed them if they told me that. And so to really have that strong community that comes together, that's bonded by their shared experiences and their shared desire to have a better life, it's my favorite. The class when they come down and the class when they go up are two completely different classes. And
Yeah.
it's so amazing to see how
I bet.
quickly
Yeah.
and powerfully they come together and truly build lifelong bonds of support.
Wow. That sounds really cool, man. That sounds great, Justin. To be able
Yeah,
to
it's
do that. Like that was very moving for me just to hear you talk about that. And, oh my God.
I'm
Very
very fortunate. I have the
emotional.
most rewarding job.
Yeah. And, well, let's talk about that. Like, how did
Yeah.
you come to start this?
Well, to be honest, I needed it myself. About 8 years ago, I went through a similar program developed by what is now our clinical manager, Adam Majors. I, came back from my tour in 2006, and I had a pair of Purple Hearts. I took some small arms fire to the face myself. Fortunately, it was about an inch and a half away from the other individual I described. And then I took a suicide car bomb, some shrapnel to the hand that got me a medevac flight home. And my enlistment ended shortly after that. And I came back to Kansas City, where I'm from, and spent the next decade really in marketing and video production and just kind of thinking my life was good to go. I was uh, I had the war behind me, right? And I had married, and my wife had 4 kids. And so when my oldest stepdaughter, when she reached high school, she started going through suicidology and depression. And um, for me, kids should never be in a war zone. They just shouldn't. And I wasn't always in a position to help the kids that were in a war zone in the way that I would have liked. And suddenly that hopeless and helpless feeling was replaying itself in my living room. And I was terrified. And I just poured myself all in to make sure that, this kid was going to make it when there were others that didn't. And my mental health just took a nosedive. I mean, it just tanked. And so I found myself in one of the seats and kind of the predecessor to what is now our program. And I had done some other things, some other therapies and other organizations. And, they kind of felt like corporate retreats. And it was helpful, but fleeting. And so this was just life changing. It really was. It was something where I could tell that these were the people I needed to surround myself, to hold myself accountable for. And the opportunity arose in 2018 to start the battle within, to really expand on what Adam had started. And I was just kind of in a position, I'd stayed involved and was in a position to really lead the organization at that time. So it was my opportunity to pay it forward to others that are now in the place that I once was. And that's been very therapeutic for me as well, to be able to continue to do that.
You're a good man, Justin Hoover. I love what you're doing, that and you're very passionate about it. What you've been through.
Well, thank you. I'm, like I said, I keep saying, like, I'm so proud of our people that we serve and the lives that they go on to do. And, less than 25% of folks have ever done therapy before coming to the battle within. And therapy works. I mean, therapy is a proven modality for helping people to get better, but it's the resistance to treatment that so many won't start. And they've either, had bad experiences.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, therapy's fine, but what you offer is a community of vets just like you, right?
Right.
Like, have been through what you've been through, and that they understand you better than anybody else will. So that's the thing, is that you're going to be in a community with like-minded people.
And that's really our goal in that is to help break through that resistance to treatment, help get you started on that path. And 90% of our graduates go on and complete a therapy regime, essentially. And so when COVID struck, we started the Frontline Therapy Network, because we weren't able to hold our classes. The whole nation shut down, and we had 3 classes that we had to cancel.
Nice.
That's the hardest thing, to call someone and say, hey, I know we're kind of your last hope. Sorry, we can't function. They won't let us at the moment. And there's nowhere to send you. Nobody else is open either. And that wasn't good enough for us. And so we started the Frontline Therapy Network of really, we have vetted these clinicians to ensure they have the cultural competency and the experience to be able to serve our veterans and first responders. And we do a matching. We find out what your needs are, and we will match you with the right therapy from over 17 types of therapies and over 120 therapists.
Wow.
And we will find the right one, we'll reach out to them, make sure that they're taking new clients, and then we'll fund the first 6 to 10 sessions. And so what we've seen, because as I say, the path is the goal. The longer you stay on the path, that is the goal. And that's how you really overcome PTSD and depression and trauma, is that continual work. And our alumni continue that work. The average amount of therapy sessions our folks do is 32 sessions, which is large, especially when 25% of them had, done therapy at all before. And so that's where really long-term clinically we see clinically significant drops in depression and PTSD symptoms, is because they're staying on the path long enough to realize it. And I'm really proud of them for that, because like I mentioned corporate retreats before. We've all done corporate retreats, right? And you go on the corporate retreat and we're going to slay dragons, and we learn all these new tools, and then you get back and your inbox is 3 times higher than it was when you left.
Right, yep.
Well, I'll get to those tools once I get through this. And then 3 months later, you're like, well, I guess I didn't use any of those tools. I just swam back in my pool. And so mental health is no different. I mean, your life was a dumpster fire most of the time when you come see us, and we didn't change that. So you go back to that dumpster fire, and there's a heavy pull of the current to pull you back into your old ways. And so, again, that community of support and for me, really building a system where you can have a life, you can work, you can have a family, and continue to use the tools and continue to be vulnerable, to work through the traumas, to actually get better in a realistic way, is why our folks really do the amazing continuing after work and have the transformations that they have. It's all their credit to sticking with it and doing the hard work.
Well, but you're providing the resources and the process.
Oh, sure. Sure. I mean, you can lead the horse to water, right? You can lead the horse to water, but they continue.
But that's fantastic. And you've got a dinner coming up, your Hero's Journey dinner.
We do. So this is our biggest fundraiser of the year. It's here in Kansas City, February 20th. And it is really an opportunity to hear some of those stories. We found, our keynote speakers are some of our alumni that we interview, and really find those very deep personal stories of really hardship and recovery, and see how they have changed their lives, and how we have helped be some of the steps along the way to help them do that. And so it is a very powerful, very moving night of hope and redemption. And, we'd love anyone that would like to join, or, say you're across the nation, you can't come into Kansas City, but one of the things that is unique and special about the dinner is we do welcome our alumni back, and particularly our mentors that provide that peer support. And so we try and have every seat paid for, right? And so, if it's not an opportunity where you can come in, you can sponsor one of them to attend the dinner and get to be part of it. And that's also a fantastic way, if you'd like one of our alumni at your table, or a couple of them, to really hear those personal stories and get to know them and hear their journey. And it's a powerful connection to really the work that we do throughout the year.
Wow. So how many people usually attend this?
We're expecting around 450 or 500 folks this year.
Wow.
It keeps growing. We're so fortunate to have such amazing support, and I think it's very synergetic, because when we rely on these people in their professions, veterans and first responders, we don't know them, right? Like, they don't know you. They don't know. They just answer the call. They don't say no. They show up. And they are very good in a crisis. And now, they're standing by for when those crises happen, and they answer the call. Yeah. And our community has been very wonderful when the crisis that is their life becomes too much and they need help, that financially and, through so many ways, support, the battle within is able to be there to answer the call when they reach out for help. Because let's face it, that window of vulnerability is very small. The phrase "embrace the suck" from the military has become pretty commonly known here in the last 20 years, and we are very good at embracing the suck. And when that moment of vulnerability happens, it can go three ways. You can really have that empathetic support structure that helps you find resources that can help you transform your life and overcome those traumas, or you can suffer through until that suck becomes your new baseline and you embrace that new level of suck, or it goes tragically wrong and you can't handle it anymore. And that's when suicide becomes a very viable option. And you can start to see how that, extrapolates out over time into a stair step, right? Like, here's my base level that I can embrace the suck. Some major crisis happens in my life or major life change, and now my baseline is here. And now it's here. And then at some point it's like, nothing's working, nothing helps, I'm not getting better. Suicide becomes a much more viable option. So, we're really able, through our community to be there to break that cycle, and provide the necessary support to get them off that stairwell of hopelessness.
Wow, man. You're doing God's work, Justin.
Oh, well, like I said, I'm paying it forward.
It's just really fantastic what you're doing, just helping the vets, man, in every capacity. And
thank you.
Primarily, it starts in their head, right? That's it. And that's what you got to fix, or at least start to fix. And that's the battle within.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. I love it. And so, like, everybody, man, what a great guy. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing our mission.
I've been looking for something like this for a long time. So this is what I'm doing. I hope that everybody listening will go check out thebattlewithin.org. That's it. Thebattlewithin.org. Check out their website. They could use some help with the website, which I'll talk to Justin about. But hey,
I was going to say, I'm currently the one building it, and I'm busy and no longer.
Yes, well, you've done.
I'd love to talk offline on that.
Yeah, we'll do it. But listen, everybody, go there and participate. If go there if you need help. Go there when you have that moment when you're vulnerable. Go there instead of doing the third option. Right. And go there.
And I guarantee if you go there and you're needing help, you will find people that understand you, that care about you, and believe you're worth it.
Yeah. And if nothing else, just go and sponsor one of these alumni to come. That would be a great thing. Is if you paid for a guy or a vet to come, that wouldn't be able to go. But if you pay for a seat, they'll get them there. That's wonderful. Okay, everybody. Justin, thank you so much for your time today, brother. I know you're a busy guy doing this stuff, helping the vets, and it was great talking to you, my man.
Oh, thank you, Tom, and thank you very much for sharing your platform, and we look forward to working with you, and thank you for all your support. It means the world to the people we serve.
Thank you, pal. All right, everybody. It's been Tom and Justin on the World of Marketing. We'll see you soon. Stay here, Justin.